Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to your favorite cooking channel. This is Cooking with Abba. If you are new to the channel, you're most welcome. Today, we're going to look at authentic Ghana waakye with a twist. And the twist here, you have to watch to the end to really see the twist in there. But this is one recipe which you will lick your fingers when you're eating it. Yes. So, we're going to making some waakye. And typically in Ghana, when you're serving your waakye, enam kakra, kosua kakra, meko kakra, salad kakra, gari kakra, macaroni kakra, bode kakra, bibia kakra kakra. So this is typically how we eat our waakye in Ghana. A lot of proteins, a lot of ornamental sides as well in there. So let's go in. And for your waakye, most basic things you need is your sorghum leaves, or what we call waakye leaves here. They give it that color in there. If you don't add that color to it, honestly, it becomes a bit plain and more boring as well. So you need the sorghum leaves. The beautiful thing about the sorghum leaves is usually when you use it, sometimes you can reuse it depending on the quantity you used, depending on how well colorful it is. So for this one like this, I had some few I had used earlier, which was frozen, which I took it out. And so I just added some few fresh ones to it to be able to do this waakye recipe. So that's a beautiful thing about the waakye leaves or the sorghum leaves. And you need to wash it properly. You need to open it up and wash it properly because sometimes there may be dirt and things in one should done. Have enough water to be able to cook it. Then the next important thing to make your waakye is your beans. Yes, beans. Any type of beans. Usually we use the normal beans to make the waakye because they cook better, they cook faster. When you go into the market and you tell them you want to cook waakye, they'll show you the beans to buy. Because if you go and buy overly hard beans and then your waakye, if you go and buy overly soft too, if you don't take care, you may get it all pecha in there. So when you go to the market and you ask for it, they will show you how to do it. So for the beans, I recommend you wash it as well before you use it. And when you're washing, don't just pour the water over it and then take it out. It's good to use your hand to scoop it out so that if there are any bones at the end or at the bottom, you'll be able to see it. Fortunately, this was very fresh, clean beans, so there were no stones in there as well. There was less. I didn't see much of animals. It was more of just the husk issues in there. So yes, you need to wash it. And before you cook your beans, it's good to pre-soak it. You don't need kale and all those ones, the saltpeter and things to soften it. If you just pre-soak your beans, if you buy flexible beans, let me put it like that, it should be easy for you to do. So once that is soaking, I'm going to go on to my coconut, which is another twist to this waakye. The coconut gives you that creaminess to your waakye. Sometimes you have to pamper yourself. Nua waakye papa bi na di na sere na w'ani ngye. Aha. So yes, I'm using coconut. This is the hard coconut, copra, or how do you call it? I think so. So you need to look for the eye of it and then you make the hole in there. Usually the scissors does it easy for you. Then you pour out the water of it. I try to crack it with a wooden rolling pin. It didn't work out. Coconut not as well in power. But the easiest way to crack it is to get a hard surface, especially the cement surface or the floor, and then crack it very well. So I use a terrazzo to crack this open very well. Sometimes you can just leave it in the sun. When the heat is so much, it's going to let it open by itself. But I didn't have the luxury of time. So I just had to apply some force to it. Because I wanted to use my bowl and my beans had soaked for a while, I just transferred them into the saucepan as well. Now it's good to also pre-soak your beans before you cook. It saves you cooking time. It gets you better results and it reduces the gases in there. Nti ɛno no wonka bebree menka ne kɛseɛ. Aha. So if you want to reduce all of those, it's good to pre-soak your beans before you use it. So at this point, I'm going to pour it into my saucepan, which is going to sit aside for me to work on my coconut milk. So the main idea here is to be able to extract the coconut milk from the coconut. So once I've been able to crack it open, I'm going to take the coconut out of the shell. I don't recommend you do this with any sharp knife or else you cut yourself. So the best thing is get a blunt knife. I was using how do you call it, table knife, which I'm not supposed to use, but I was using table knife for it because it was way, 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 way safer. If you have a palette knife, you can make use of it as well. And please be very careful when you're doing this because even the coconut husk, the parts, the shell, or should I say coconut shell, sometimes it can be very sharp. If you don't take care, you can easily cut yourself or hurt yourself. If you don't want to go through the stress of fresh coconut milk, you can buy your store-bought coconut milk as well, which works perfectly. So once you're done, you are going to wash this up, and then you're going to cut it to be able to blend it. You don't want to stress your blender. If you have a miller, you can mill it and squeeze out your coconut. You are good to go. If you have a grater, you can try to grate it and then just squeeze it if you don't want to introduce any extra water in there. Those are all alternatives. Some people would also peel the back of the coconut, but I see that as too much work and it's not going to make any significant change in the waakye. So I don't bother myself to do that. Then I just cut it into small chunks in there. If you get fresh, good tasting coconut, honestly, you would enjoy the milky vibe in there and you enjoy the whole experience as well. So yes, you need to cut it into sizes which you can easily manage, into sizes you can easily work with, and it's going to make your blender not stress too much. Don't mind the little hands you see in there. That was my little nephew eating up the coconuts alongside myself. I take one, he takes one. I don't know what competition he was doing with me over the coconut. So yes, this is one super nutritious kind of waakye. Waakye deɛ, Saturday anɔpa paa, wonya waakye pa bi sei a, ɛno deɛ wodidi wie a na wada, na warelax, na warest, na wagye wahome. Yes, so cut your coconuts into good chunks which your blender can easily blend. Have enough water around it. Have enough water around it because you're going to still use the water in cooking the waakye up. So once that is done, I'm going to blend this till it is very smooth. Because if you don't blend this to be too smooth, you won't be able to really juice out all the milk from it. And I didn't want to re-blend it. When I was doing that, I was also boiling the waakye leaves as well. So once that came to boil, I just took it off and then I took out the leaves. I'm going to introduce some of the leaves into the beans, which I'm cooking on the fire. For the beans, you can cook it or you can start cooking it with normal water. I had a bit of bean stock. So sometimes when I cook beans and I have excess water, especially when I'm doing gobe and those ones, or bean stew and those ones, I tend to store up the beans water, the excess water from the cooked beans. And that's what I used in this recipe. So yes, whilst that is on fire, the beans is on fire, I'm going to go on to juice out my milk. So yes, the you can use a spoon, you can use your hand. For this, I was eating at home and I was going to cook it. So at the end of the day, heat is going to go in there. So you just need to make sure that you take the milk away from the chaff. The chaff, you can do something with it if you want to. But then I gave it to the chickens for them to also enjoy life small. So yes, once the beans is cooked, you want to make sure that the beans is well cooked before you introduce your rice. That's another important thing. But because I was going to add in the coconut milk to increase the creaminess, I didn't make the beans like peche cooked before I went on. And one thing about beans is when you're cooking beans, you don't start with salt. It makes the cooking process very long. And if you don't take care, you feel like, I'm not tasting the salt, I'm not tasting the salt. Before, we need to also no. So it's very important that when your beans is almost done cooking, before you introduce in the salt and the rest of the water from the sorghum leaf boil, I'm going to keep it there because that's going to give me that waakye color in there. If you want very gown red, you can use more sorghum leaves in there to give you that deep gown red. So yes, once the beans has boiled for a while with the salt, I then introduce the coconut milk. The coconut milk gives it that creaminess. It improves the taste, improves the texture. It improves the nutritional value in it as well. Then I add in the waakye leaves water, the sorghum leaves water as well. That is also going to improve on the color as well and add in that extra nutrients in there. Now I'm going to let this come to a boil a little. Yes, and then I'll scoop out some of the beans because some people like to enjoy their waakye with extra beans. And all the quantities are in the description button as well. So as this is coming to a boil, I'm going to wash my rice. Yes, it's good to wash your rice. And as for the rice, sometimes it comes with extra starch, sometimes the handling and all those things. And you get finer looking grains whenever you wash your rice before you cook with it. So whether it's perfume rice, whatever rice you're using, you need to wash it. You need to wash it so your rice water, the water that's coming around it or from it, is clean and clear. Usually I do the 3 times wash. You wash first time, wash second time, wash third time. By the third count or the fourth count, you should really have very clean, neat rice to make use of as well. So yes, once this is also done, I set this aside. And the beautiful thing about waakye is it's a whole balanced diet on its own. There's that protein part in from the beans. There is the rice part, which is giving you a carbohydrate. We're using the leaves and all those things, which are also what adding more nutrients to it. So, like I said, some people like to have their waakye served with extra beans, and so at this point, I'm going to scoop out some of the extra beans away. Yes, and I cooked it with the coconut milk for you to be able to get that creaminess in the beans. It improves the texture of the beans, it improves the taste of the beans, and it makes it nicer when you are really eating the beans as well afterwards. So it doesn't feel odd in there. Then I introduced my rice into the mixture, which is coconut milk with the sorghum leaves with the beans. Now my water was quite a lot. When you're cooking waakye, you don't need excess water. Yes, you need just about half an inch extra water above the surface of the rice. So the safest thing to do is if your water is too much, scoop up some so that if you are doing and it's too hard, you can introduce that water in. If you don't do that and you cook it with excess water, you're going to get very mushy waakye, which is also not so fun to go with. So once I'm done, I stir it up and then I add in my salt because yes, the salt I started cooking with the beans. I didn't want it to get too salty, so I just used enough salt to make the beans tasty. Now that the rice is going in, I need to add in enough salt to make it tasty. So I put aside the beans, which I've scooped out, and then I'm going to wait for the rice to come to a boil. Then I mix it up. Once this goes in, please reduce your fire to low because if you don't put it on low before you realize, not watch it, no, I ask and fufro. Aha. So you just need to mix this up and then you cover it up and you see how creamy it is. Because you're using coconut milk, you're not really going to get the gown red kind of watching, but you're still going to get good looking red watching. Just that it will be a bit gown. I don't know how best to put it in English. So yes, at this point, when the water is reducing and the rice is forming beautifully, you want to transfer it onto a smaller burner over very, very low heat because it is heat that cooks your waakye perfectly. It is not the water. If the water is too much, you get very soggy, sticky waakye, which is not looking nice and it's going to be all some way. And one thing about waakye is if the water is too much in there, if you store it, it would easily get spoiled if there's too much water in as well. So once all the water is reducing, like I said, transfer it to a low heat burner, cover it with your napkin, and let the heat do the magic. Within 10-15 minutes, once you cover it up, the heat will do the magic and your rice will be cooked. And this is how my waakye came out. Very beautiful, very tasty in there as well. So this is how I save myself. Yes, you gotta save yourself and save the family. So yes, you just scoop out your waakye. Typically, yes, this one is like mini waakye buffet. So yes, let's do the roll call. Yes, we have spaghetti kakra, aka talia, aka macaroni. Then some gari, aka cassava what flakes or cassava what granules. And you need some kusia. They said in Ghana, dear, everything we eat kusia with it. Fufu credit kusia di. So you need some egg as well and some, extra beans, just to give you that rich mama vibes. Just pamper yourselves for. You can use any sauce of your preference. Over here, I was using gravy, which also works perfectly. Now, what you cocoa kakrebi, some ripe fried plantain, just a bit on the side. Yes, this is typically how we serve our waakye in Ghana. And then usually we add some salad in there, abrofo fantini ba now the cucumber or zucchini salad. Now the account. You can find a zucchini salad on my channel as well. Then you can add your fish and you are good to go. If you don't like that option one, you can also go with your regular, which is waakye kakra, talia kakra, gari kakra. Then you can add in the extra beans. Yes, now I spread gusro. Now amana fefe kama. Then you can add in your fish. You can add in your plantain. You can add in your sauce, whether you want gravy, whether you want shito. Yes, that's another option to go with if you're not a very much vegetable person as well. But for me, dear, my vibe. This is how I like to eat my waakye. This is full formula. Waakye with some gari kakra, macaroni kakra, salad kakra, meko kakra, chinam kakra, kusia kakra, plantain kakra. Typically, this is how I eat my waakye. So yes, I hope you really do try this recipe. And you can find other waakye recipes on my channel as well. There's some I did, which I used the coconut fiber or the coconut, the full blend in there, which also gives you great results as well. So do give this recipe a try. Do subscribe, do like, do share. Till I see you in the next video. Live life to the fullest. Be merry, be joyous. Lots of love from my team and I. Mwah.